know what it is.
Well, we are about to find out. Picks and bans is on your screens. Team SoloMid, blue side in this best of 3 series, taking their time on this first ban, locking it in, and they're taking Thresh away from Aframu.
I do feel like the Soraka pick is so crucial. I mean, TSM was one of the first teams to feel the pain of mid lane Soraka in their defeat to Cloud9 in Super Week. That was on the 4.4 patch, before heal had been buffed, before it cleansed healing debuffs, you know, before it was this crazy summoner spell. Yeah, and of course COD is the one who bans it away, so they don't even want to let TSM have a shot at it.
So we've seen Soraka banned out on the red side all the games that it has been banned this weekend.
I think that's going to continue.
Maybe temporarily replacing the likes of that Kassadin being a red side ban, so to speak.
I think so.
Running out the rest of TSM's bans, LeBlanc and Lee Sin, they're taking that one away from Dexter. Dexter still undefeated on Lee Sin the entire spring split.
And I really do feel like that Syndra ban, it comes a little out of left field for me, but that is a huge target at Bjergsen. Since there's a LeBlanc ban already, there's the Syndra ban on the other side, there's no Soraka. Maybe COG is going to take something like a Lulu and then try and trap Bjergsen with Zed, because if you look at the rest of his champion pool, he can't play Gragas because of the rework and him being disabled this week for Super Week. That's very bold moves by COG in the ban phase.
Can't forget Lulu is still up and available if maybe they want to go that route. TSM locking in that Kha'Zix as a first lock-in. Now Nocturne's still up, Zinzal's still up, and in the current meta of those sort of Feral Flare junglers, we'll need to see what Dexter decides to go for.
Yeah, there is so many possibilities here. Of course, Doublelift gets the Lucian again. He's really fallen in love with him as an AD carry pick. Ever since he said he realized how mechanically complex Lucian can be by playing against a lot of good LCS Lucians, and then he decided to pick it up himself. But this Lulu pick really puts Bjergsen in a difficult spot. I've really been wondering how Bjergsen's going to play on this patch, because all of his success has been with the Assassins. And we got to see Xpeke playing Zed into Exhaust. Nidalee is the only pick left really for Bjergsen, because it's not Assassin, it's something he plays well.
Well, it has been locked in. Nidalee has been played 3 times this split with 3 victories sitting in Bjergsen's back pocket. Just briefly want to touch on that Lucian as well. Currently undefeated in playoffs. He's 5-0 across all of the quarterfinal games. 2 of those victories in Doublelift's hands himself. So right now, Team SoloMid locking their Morgana a lot of long-range skill shots. They're going to be able to poke down if they ever get close enough to CLG's towers.
Once you pick Nidalee, you're almost opting into a fairly heavy poke composition. The one thing that TSM has to make sure they don't fall into the trap of is actually what Dignitas did in Game 3 against Curse yesterday, where they have the Nidalee, then they have a bunch of other guys who want to be hard engagers, and that means they still can't kite back. If they want to emulate something with that Nidalee pick, they want to do something more along the lines of what Fnatic did in the European LCS Finals. I think I came up from a word for it in Twitter. It's like a guerrilla warfare composition where you fight the other team where they least expect it, and so they can't fight back. But CLG is taking a bunch of hard initiation right now.
Yeah, long range abilities there with that Twisted Fate and the Nocturne locked in. Before we touch on the composition that CLG's locked in, this is also the 5th support that we're seeing especially. He's only run 4 champions spring split this far.
So they have to have changed something during the 2 weeks off. But really, the Twisted Fate pick, I need to touch on how smart this was by CLG. They did the Lulu pick yesterday in support role as well. Aframu is one of the only remaining support Lulus in the LCS, but the reason it's smart is they could have used him mid lane if Bjergsen would have picked an Assassin. But when Bjergsen picks Nidalee, who doesn't have lane pressure, it allows Link to play Twisted Fate, which is so good for CLG.
Very smart play from CLG while all of that's been going on. Graves locked in again. Graves has had some tweaks in 4.5, a little bit of a boost to his damage. We've seen it yesterday. And now Wild Turtle's pulling it out here in the semi-finals along with that Dr. Mundo. So a strong front line on the side of Team SoloMid.
A very tanky, hard-to-kill team composition. Dyrus is going to be playing just like Quas did yesterday on Mundo, with the teleport and heal in the top lane. You add that with Nidalee and the Black Shield, TSM's going to be very difficult to bring down. When you look at CLG right here, TF doesn't necessarily bring too much damage from the mid lane, and that means Dexter's going to have to build a lot of damage on Nocturne if they want to start slicing through. Well, very interesting team comps coming out here, Quick Shot.
Assuming he gets the time to stack up that Feral Flare, there's the theory to get some damage on it. We'll need to see.
Stacked it up fast yesterday.
Very effectively, especially when challenging off against Nintendo decks. Now we do see the last pickup most likely going to be something from the Entonso. We see the Dr. Mundo on the side of Dyrus. This is the 10th time, 11th time, no, 9th time rather, that Dyrus will be running Mundo. Let's get the numbers out there. And throughout the split, Nian's played 15 games of Shyvana.
By far his most played. And Shyvana is actually quite good against Mundo. This is the first time Dyrus has played Mundo in a while, even though he's played it 9 times so far. in this split. All right, so that's got to be the team compositions right here. Lots of heals on both sides. I think there's going to be a lot of map movement by CLG. That's always what they excel in. They're going with Nocturne and Twisted Fate. So they're going to be looking to catch TSM in rotations. They're not going to look to get isolated into laning phases and extending sieges. They want to win this game with rotations like they've beaten TSM in the past.
We'll need to keep our eyes on how CLG handle the opening few minutes of the game. Yesterday, they clearly showed decisive movements against Coast, grabbing multiple objectives and really pushing Coast onto the back foot early on. We'll need to see how TSM does. They didn't do very well in 4.4. We're now in 4.5.
Yeah, and it does look like they've made a few pretty big adaptations. The Mundo coming in, not even bringing Flash. They've switched their AD carry choices. They've even switched their support choices. They've done a lot of change. The question will be, is it too much?
Well, the game is about to get underway. Let's check what your predictions are at home. According to LOLesports.com, 70% of you think that TSM will take the win. But remember, you can also vote over at Twitter.
Yeah, so you can hit us up at LOL Esports and use the hashtag CLGwin or TSMwin. Then you can see who will come out on top, and we'll roll those graphics throughout the game.
Well, we'll need to see. We're a little nervous about TSM's chances, I think, coming into this one. You have to feel CLG a little bit in the edge.
This is kind of a toss-up. Honestly, it's because you have the history of TSM and knowing how good they all are individually, but then you have the recent success and just the eye test of how good CLG has looked lately. But once again, as they even said in the preview video, the only look that CLG has gotten of TSM was during Super Week. They haven't been able to scrim against him. They haven't been able to figure out what they've been doing, and they just have to go into this one trying to prepare for what they think TSM prepared.
Well, we are loading up into the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. This is the semi-final of Team SoloMid taking on Counterlogic Gaming, a best of 3. And TSM immediately moving out the gate as a 4-man unit. A couple of players moving top and bottom. We'll see how this early game plays out, if we're going to see any of those lane swaps and the tower pushing shenanigans.
That will be very, very critical here. You do so much of your matchup planning and the hype between Doublelift and Aphromoo versus Wild Turtle and X Special. And then you end up seeing lane swaps. CLG has excelled in the lane swap game, and TSM has not been able to come out victorious in that. So you have to think, if CLG was trying to make something happen, they would want that lane swap.
Well, we do see Niantonso hanging out with the rest of his team behind him. If you cast your minds back all the way to week 8, the odd one followed up to a little bit of an engage between Nien and Dyrus and ended up getting first-blooded thanks to a little bit of lane shenanigans. But it doesn't look like neither team is going for any of those invades as of yet. It might be later, though.
CLG has gotten a lot of first bloods from level 1s, and that was even before the trinket changes happened, because they would pick up on team tendencies and then exploit them in these games. But there is no team tendency for TSM right now. These guys are generally going in blind. There are some wards placed by TSM to prevent against a CLG invade on their blue side, but CLG is completely out of scout range right now. At this point, these are just guessing games by these guys.
Well, neither team has managed to guess their opponent's hand. They're going to go for a blind invade. It does look like Team SoloMid should get their hands on the red buff. CLG not opting to do the same.
This is actually potentially very beneficial for TSM right now, because Dexter doesn't know where the lane came from. When he sees the AD carrying support arrive in the top lane, we'll have to see if he makes the call to go straight down towards Odd One's red buff, because that's what he should do. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's got the bottom lane on his side to protect himself.
So Dexter moving into that jungle. It's actually Team SoloMid that initiate that lane swap. Traditionally, it's the red side you see throwing the AD carry and support in the top lane. We'll see how this works out for them. Dyrus just going to be jungling along with the Odd One. They're pitching a tent in CLG's jungle and taking away all the camps that they can.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to let Dyrus get a lot of that experience in the double golem so he can hit level 2 and then level up his E so he hits the turrets much faster, because they're going to need increased pushing power if they want to keep pace with this TSM team. I'm actually surprised Dexter didn't take at least one of those small minions for the extra experience. They're worth a lot now because he needs to get to the lane so quickly and match this TSM push up top.
Well, he does manage to get in range, throws out that Duskbringer onto the minion wave. The rest of CLG hammering away. Tower's down to about half. TSM looking like they should be able to at least even out this tower kill. Both towers same HP, but it's opposite direction. We don't usually see traffic going along these lanes.
It definitely feels like TSM is actually playing CLG's game right now. When the game unfolds like this, typically CLG will out-rotate and do a better job throughout the game. The early on move here where both teams just send 4 to a lane is actually becoming the norm. You can see 4 level 2 guys pushing down the turrets. It's going to be all about what they do next in this game.
Well, we'll see who calls chicken first to back away. It looks like Team SoloMid have initiated the recalls first. They might be able to make it in time to prevent some of that damage on the inhibitor turret, but it looks like it's going to be a 2-for-2 tower trade thus far.
One thing that is going to be really important to keep track of now is what happens to the jungle camps. Because if you notice during the counter-jungling phase, where the junglers were in each other's jungle, they left a lot of the small minions up, and it's going to end up setting both junglers a little bit far behind. Odd1 actually opts to get the timer on the red buff, whereas Dexter does not.
Well, we'll see if Odd1 can make use of that once it does respawn later in the game. Next, they're going to get his hands on the double golems. Once the dust has settled, a minor CS advantage for double lift on Lucian. And not really much to speak of between Dyrus and Nien. And we do see double ruby crystals being picked up by Dyrus. And yesterday, Quas did the same thing. He would go Giant Belt, double rubies.
It's just because the ruby crystal can eventually build into exactly what he wants. If he's going Spirit Visage or Banshee's Veil or really anything, the health crystal builds into so many different components that he will be able to take use of it. And he goes back with an odd gold amount, can't afford a Giant's Belt, may as well just pick up more health. Mundo scales so well with it. So
this is the first time we're catching a glimpse of that mid lane. Bjergsen or Nidalee. Fairly standard pick in the mid lane these days, but Twisted Fate had somewhat of a resurgence. We've seen him in the Challenger Series.
Yep.
I think we've seen him over in OGN as well.
I've seen him a couple times.
So he's showing his face.
Yeah, Faker's Twisted Fate was good, so was Dade's as well. But the big thing about the change to Twisted Fate is he can now hold his card for 6 seconds after he locks it in, but has to select it faster. And the big thing that allows it to come out in this game is Link has no early lane pressure on him. Normally, Twisted Fate is actually a weak early laner, and he gets past that with Nidalee. It's trying to match the ridiculousness of Nidalee's spears with the ridiculousness of TF Global.
Well, we'll see whose ridiculousness is more ridiculous once we get to the mid-game, especially in Dyrus. Looking like they might be in a tad bit of trouble. There's a few members of CLG nearby. They decide to back away. Not going for that.
Well, check this out. This is not very old CLG style, but it is TSM style. What just happened is Doublelift was roaming around while Wild Turtle was getting solo lane farm. So if we track then the relative power of the AD carries, Turtle is taking some laps around Doublelift. He's 2 levels above him right now, and Doublelift is now just going to solo farm. So TSM actually with a slight rotational edge there.
We'll see how it comes to pass. You did see that flash of the graphic. A little more people voting for CLG as far as Twitter's concerned.
Yeah.
Numbers down from 70-13 to about 57-43. So we'll keep our eyes on that as the game progresses.
Well, that's a massive wave. Doublelift's going to love that one.
Able to grab himself a whole bunch of CS. That should probably even up the CS numbers with Wild Turtle, as long as he lands all of those hits under the tower. And TSM, first showing, opening 5 minutes. They've traded, even if not a touch ahead of CLG, a little more than Coast was able to do yesterday, I feel.
This is actually really impressive. Doublelift hasn't missed a single one from this wave yet. I wonder if he can actually get all of them. I was gonna... See this? Oh, he missed one. But seriously, this is why these guys are such a crazy matchup, because you see a wave that large hitting the turret, it's actually very difficult to get nearly every single one like Doublelift did, and he catches himself up in CS. Even though CLG looked like they had a bit of a disadvantage, he was able to make it down there in time to make it so it's just a complete trade, and that completely evens out the gold.
For the record, I think that's your fault. You had to call it out, you had to point it out. 10 seconds later.
There's so many of them there.
So even CS across the board. We did see Niantanso grabbed himself a tiny advantage against Dyrus. We're expecting that to continue to grow. Shyvana versus Mundo. Team SoloMid. You touched on the fact that Odd1 got some jungle clears. He's going for the blue.
I also think that they're going to dive Dr. Mundo. One thing that had Dr. Mundo fall out of the meta a little bit is so many people would dive him at level 5 or 6 and just punish him right now. Because Dexter was looking for the gank and because Link was also looking for the port, it left the blue completely exposed, and they're still not in position to necessarily kill Dyrus. We'll see how Dexter and Yen try to go in. Dexter, Dyrus now level 5. Here's the TF ult. Everybody piling in.
Yeah, full vision. 3 members on one. Dyrus does has here. I don't think he's getting away. Gold card locks him up. Just flawlessly executed from CLG.
Yep. Dyrus didn't even bother using his heal because he knew he was dead. So he actually saved it for later. It'll help him a little bit in the future, but it does mean that CLG gets the turret edge with that kill.
So very smart play from CLG. Link barely level 7. We do see a bit of a reply. Odd1 and Bjergsen got that mid tower down to below half, but Nien teleports in to defend it.
turrets are the main name of the game right now for both of these guys. CLG has traditionally done better in this game, and that's the game that TSM is playing right now. When they have to pick the heal teleport Mundo and the exhaust on the Nidalee, they're looking for the defensive kite game, but they won't be able to play that if they fall too far behind in objectives.
1,500 gold right now. They are a kill down and a tower down. We'll need to see how TSM attempts to regain control. Decent spear, but there's not the greatest amount of ability power.
He's not powered up quite yet on Nidalee. We'll have to see when that happens because CLG doesn't necessarily have the best defensive capabilities on their squishy targets that will be vulnerable to spears. So it's actually on CLG to make that a non-factor. Across the team compositions, CLG has substantially better wave clear. So TSM is actually trying to get the game out of the lanes and into the jungle where they can fight them.
See if they can make that work. Wriggle's Lantern secured for Dexter. Less than a minute later, immediately going for that dragon. It doesn't look like TSM can contest this.
That red steal was not worth it for the odd one. They got the blue, which maybe tipped CLG off that they would want to get both of them. And Dexter makes the best of what would be a bad situation, getting both of his buffs stolen away from him because he got to kill a turret and a dragon for his team, whereas Odd One just stole 2 buffs.
This is something that Sam Vicious was touching on yesterday. When you've got that Wriggles trying to push for the dragons whenever you can, Dexter with an early objective advantage. So CLG creeping ahead. That gold graph is now up to about 2,000.
Yeah.
And as you touched on, the movements around the map in favor of Council Logic Gaming.
A lot of it has to do with objective control. One thing that is a little bit worrying for Doublelift right now is actually how many spears that have hit him in the early game. I remember the last time that Bjergsen played Nidalee against CLG. Even though TSM did win, after the game, he said how impressed he was by Doublelift's mechanics because he only hit him with about 1 spear the entire game. Doublelift was dodging them amazingly. He's already been hit by more spears than that. They're not killing him yet because Bjergsen hasn't powered up. But if he doesn't start dodging those and paying closer attention to Bjergsen's moves, it will cost CLG later.
We'll see how that works out. Lanes just continue to be pushed. It's actually Link that's made the first sort of a move to this bottom lane. No towers to slow him down. TSM, once again, setting their sights on this mid tower. This is the second real push they've had. That's good damage.
Yeah, this is the wave clear of CLG trying to hold this turret off. Good spear dodge right there, but the turret is very low. Link isn't going to be allowed to roam down like that unless they actually have, I'd say, 2 people defending this turret because TSM wants to stack this mid lane up until they get the turret back. With this, they can salvage a lot of their map control, and Bjergsen is on fire with those spears thus far.
Very good targeting. Those homing spears finding their marks. You can't mistake the fact that the Dark Bindings from Xpecial also helped the last trade. They're going to get this tower down, and Doublelift's going forward. That's the culling being used. Destiny comes in. Here comes Dexter. That's a great knocker from Afromu. First kill secured in the fight. Now Xpecial is going to get dropped. That's a double kill for Dexter. Dyrus arrives late, but they're not going to do much. Maybe hold the tower.
What a nice turn by CLG. They're knowing that TSM was going to try and finish the turret, and then relying on their global pressure. They keep going in tower dive.
Yeah, Dyrus is going to get dropped. He's feared, flung to the side. Dexter, he's given up his life for the trade, though. It's a 1-for-1, and CLG peels back to the tower. They should get the one, and they do.
So the bad thing about that is Dexter gave up a full gold bounty to the odd one, but the good thing about that is they're even farther up on objectives now, and they should be able to run away from this one. Very aggressive shot calling by CLG there. They could have just taken the turret and not tried to chase the kills, but they were maybe trying to send a message to Dyrus saying that they can kill him. About this fight again though, once the turret went down, this is just TSM not being used to fighting against Nocturne TF. It's so hard to predict how quickly they can collapse down upon you. The fact that Dexter did get the double kill off of that one is huge for them. Look, he already has his Bilgewater as he's continued to stack up that Wriggles Lantern.
It's been a long time since we've seen a frequent number of games with Twisted Fate, and Link showing that
he was a great
definitely knows how to make it work.
I remember when he was playing Twisted Fate back in the 2013 season, he was one of, if not the best Twisted Fate in NA. He drew many TF bans because of his proficiency with that champion.
Odd one, and Bjergsen stealing another blue buff. That's 2 in a row that they've managed to do a massive spear onto the backside of Link. He's got the support of the rest of his team though.
That's also the danger here. Twisted Fate's not the champion who has any magic resist in his build path, and also CLG as a team doesn't have any way of sustaining. They have to be so decisive with their map movements because anytime they stick around somewhere, they have no way of combating the poke damage. That's why these turret pushes have been so successful and so critical to their success.
On Inton's a great escape. manages to dash over the wall, get out of range of that dark
close
binding, but Oddone has found him. This is 2v1. Oddone leaps, flashes over the wall, red buff is ticking. Collateral damage not going to be enough for the kill, but now Oddone, he's bitten off more than he can chew. A flash away from that javelin toss means Bjergsen doesn't grab a kill. The fear, the spear, and that's a dead Dexter. Now Bjergsen and Oddone continue the chase. Bjergsen tosses out the javelin. Nien's got the burnout. He's out of the way. That's a kill for TSM. Double lift is pushing the bottom.
And that's one of the things that is so brutal about playing against an Italy. You take one spear, she will chase you down as well and continue to hammer you down with them. That was CLG getting a turret, and it cost them a kill. Overall, gold-wise, they're still ahead, but you can't take turrets forever.
Counter Logic Gaming are playing the objective game exquisitely. They have 2 towers more than TSM. Dragon will be respawning in a minute and a half, and we'll need to see if TSM can position to challenge. The previous one was snuck away under their noses. Never really had any chance of getting their hands on it. And Xpecial playing Morgana. Not a bad start to his Morgana. We do see Destiny's been used. There's the paranoia. They're jumping onto the odd one. He does get gold carded up, and that's going to be a dead Kha'Zix.
But both big ultimates burned by CLG there. And the question is, that Spear land and Dexter would have been taken to a really small number. The question is, what can TSM do within that window? This game is now going to be all about windows as far as Twisted Fate and Nocturne ultimates are concerned. The Nocturne ultimate is on a 180-second cooldown, so that's 3 minutes, whereas the Twisted Fate ult is on, because of some of the cooldown reduction, about 140 seconds. So every time CLG does that, TSM has 2 or 3 minutes of relative safety, because CLG's not going to be able to make any moves while those ultimates are on cooldown, and it's then TSM's chance to try and make something happen.
We'll need to see how TSM make it work. Dragon will be up shortly. Remember, no paranoia, no Destiny for that fight. Dyrus getting pushed in a little bit by Nianton, so he's about 12 CS down. Not the largest of margins, considering the matchup. That's a good spear toss there from Bjergsen.
Yeah, Bjergsen is actually in a situation where he has to carry this game. TSM doesn't like putting themselves in this situation, but it tends to happen over and over again. It's mainly because CLG is so objective focused, they have so many squishy key members, and they have no sustain that the Nidalee Spears will be the deciding factor in this match. As a Dragon gets forced, teleport coming in though, big fight.
We'll see what Niantonso can do. Wild Turtle's been zoned away, 2 members of CLG running him down. Xpecial in the meantime has been caught out. TSM losing hit points all across the board. The first victim is Aframu, and Bjergsen forced to pounce over the wall. That's a good javelin toss onto Dexter.
It's still going to be a 4v5 here, and Bjergsen is trying to harass him down with Nidalee Spears. CLG can't stay and take this Dragon despite getting the 1 kill.
While they manage to get in there, we'll see how TSM respond. Double Lift is picking a fight with Bjergsen, coming out to hit. That's a lot of damage. It's a good slow from Dyrus. Can the javelin dashed away. Link's the one that eats it, and those spears are hurting. With only Athene's, Sork Shoes, and an Amp Tone, Bjergsen's already melting through CLG.
This game is very close to being out of the hands of TSM, but spears like that really illustrate how powerful Nidalee is against this CLG team composition. If we just watch this fight one more time though, this was one of the windows where CLG didn't have their Nocturne and Twisted Fate ultimates, so it was very close to being a disaster for TSM. Look how close they were to getting obliterated in that fight. Odd one very low, Bjergsen has to jump over wall, but then because the spears were landing, they were able to get out of that with only 1 death and no Dragon loss. They're gonna repeat this performance. At this point, CLG has to either force the Dragon hard or get an initiation with the Twisted Fate ultimate, which is now up.
And of course, staggering those ultimates with that Summoner Teleport, CLG making really good use of their global presence. They've extended that gold lead. TSM, they're still sticking around this Dragon. You can see both teams have got a sense they want to go for it.
TSM wants to go to that bottom wave to get some experience, but they just can't leave it at the moment. CLG would love to start this Dragon or just go for initiation. As soon as TSM peeks their head out a little bit too far, they would go. Thank goodness Dexter blocked that.
Yeah, Spell Shield going to mitigate that damage. Good reactions from Aframu as well, throwing the shield down in case his reaction time was slow. There's a ward in the pit.
This isn't actually what TSM wants to do.
Oh, there's the paranoia. All of a sudden, Dexter's jumped in. Destiny comes down from Link. TSM have already lost their front line. Dyrus is down. Dragon secured by Dexter. And the spears, yes, they're hitting Aframu, but Niantonso is running through your team. Odd one is on full retreat as Nien is getting bursted down low. Bjergsen, can he get a javelin? That's the question. Heal comes down, and we do see Niantonso backing away. 1 kill in favor of CLG, along with the Dragon. Spear runs wide, and CLG just ran TSM down.
That was COG tactics being superior to TSM right there. TSM had the poke advantage, but they forced themselves onto the objective and did not allow Bjergsen time to whittle CLG down with spears. Therefore, CLG gets one more kill and the drag.
Well,
but look out, Link.
Blue buff steal, Link's going in. Manages to get away, I think, reading the situation. A couple seconds later, if TSM can get this, it'll be another blue buff going their way. They've put a lot of emphasis on denying that objective to Link, and he finally gets his hand.
Wow. What a dangerous yet critical blue buff take there for Link. 3-0-3, but an incredibly squishy Twisted Fate build right there. Also, expect to see a lot more Morellonomicon on this patch, especially on a team that has 3 Summoner heals and a Nidalee. Because, yes, the Summoner heal does cleanse the healing debuff, but it doesn't actually heal for the full amount until you get the next one in. So as long as Link's putting persistent damage down, he will keep people healed debuffed in fights.
Darius and Bjergsen setting up.
Oh, Link is dead if he doesn't get out of here immediately.
We do see Odd One coming from the background.
He's dead.
There's no wards. We'll see how long it takes. Odd One moving in. He's leapt forward. Link, can he pull the gold card? That's the question. Gold card's up. Stuns Odd One. Spear does not connect. That's a move forward. Odd One's looking for Taste of Fear. And he manages to get the kill. You called it. A little longer, but they got it.
He almost made me a lie right there because Link pulled off some slick moves with that one. But now, we might be in for a bit of a race. There's double Blade of the Ruin King on CLG pushing down the mid lane, and TSM has 5 over on the other side. Let's see how much CLG gets or if TSM backs out.
2 items or an additional champion. Who's going to win? Tower is about to fall from TSM in this mid lane. CLG making their way with a minion wave onto inhibitor.
Just have Morgana back. They might lose their inhibitor turret just because they overstayed. Not worth.
Oh, TSM have backed off. The rest of CLG going to secure their turret. And even though Xpecial gets a Dark Binding, CLG aren't backing. They want to put some damage on that inhibitor. Finally moving away.
Notice how Link popped his Twisted Fate ultimate to see if COG could overstay, and he actually might be going in for a bit of a fight. This is a dangerous tango he's doing right here with Wild Turtle. It's all about the outplay.
Oh, Wild Turtle continues to push the wave up, starts to recoil. He's about to find Link. Once again,
he's just stalling for the rest of his team. He wants Nocturne to come in. No Nocturne ultimate, though. They're slowly collapsing on him. Now it's about what TSM can do while Wild Turtle keeps CLG on the chase.
Well, gold card has been primed. Link is going to get in range. That's good vision denial from Wild Turtle. He's going to continue chasing up. The rest of TSM are moving into the jungle of CLG. That's a dash forward. Wild Turtle's gone in. He gets popped.
But he delayed fairly well. TSM gets a red buff out of it, not necessarily worth it. Another kill goes down to Link. He gets his Zhonya's. So overall, another nice rotation by CLG. This Twisted Fate pick is working out very well for Link.
Very smart play by Council Logic Gaming. And TSM now find themselves 5 kills down, 2 towers down, an exposed inhibitor. They're 6,000 gold down. It's a difficult position to be in. And it's quite risky, I imagine, if you think their only real reliable wave clear is that Graves-Morgana combination. So if Wild Turtle gets a little out of place, could get hit by Cold Card, could be in trouble when defending towers.
I would love to see the who will win at this point. Let's take another look at this fancy dance for Link. Thank goodness he got that stun off for Wild Turtle, because Wild Turtle was ready to blow him up at that point. But then it was just the long chase down through the minions for Link and Dexter to finish this one off. I really want to see that hashtag who will win at this point between CLG and TSM, because, oh man, CLG has a big edge right now in the gold. But it's still difficult for them to close this one out just because of the strength of Bjergsen's Nidalee.
We'll need to see how CLG's dancing shoes look. Can they avoid those spears? Can they avoid the damage from Bjergsen? It's 1-0-2. Got himself a Void Staff as his next big item. Still working towards a big, needlessly large rod-based ability power item. And it's TSM on the siege. Nintonso does have teleport. He's in the top lane. Paranoia's up for
initiation would come almost immediately.
And it does look like it's being challenged. That's a teleport onto the back line. Paranoia goes in. That's a great little Messiah bait into the mid lane. Nintonso jumps in. A burning dragon. First victim to fall is Wild Turtle, and CLG continue the chase. Dexter's low on the background. Gold card locks up Xpecial. He's not going to get away from this one as Link is going to carry on chasing. That's a double kill for double lift. Nintonso with the burnout moving. There's no tower to fall back to. Now Bjergsen has to land godlike spear.
It is because of the decisiveness from CLG that this is working. The instant TSM tries to set up a siege, CLG goes in with the teleport and Twisted Fate and Nocturne ultimates. It gives them 2 kills, an inhibitor, and a stranglehold on this game.
CLG already had map control thanks to their great presence and early game, and now with super minions pouring down the middle of the map. Dexter is hard pushing that side lane. This is a great position for CLG, really in utter control.
Yeah, they absolutely have been impressive here. They've taken their small advantage and continued to force again and again, and they have, 50-50. They have avoided the Nidalee Spear siege from this guerrilla warfare that TSM is trying to mount. Dragon up at 15, though.
That's a big swing in the public opinion poll. Remember, at the start of the day, it was 70-30 as far as the website was concerned. We had, what was it, 57-43 in our first check, and 20 minutes later, CLG are pulling further and further ahead. TSM have had moments that look good, but truly, they've been playing catch-up. Oh, that's a big spear onto Africa.
CLG wants to go in immediately for this one, though. They just have to be careful not to get too overzealous. Could be up to a smite, and just a bunch of damage right away onto TSM. Nian over the wall!
There's Nian. He's managed to find every single member of Team SoloMid. The first victim of the fight is Xpecial. They're going to continue the chase. That's a flash forward from Dexter. Super aggressive. Throws out the Dustbringer in double lift, actually on the front line. Single kill secured for CLG. They should be able to secure this Dragon as well. TSM not looking to contest.
At this point, CLG is really just overpowering TSM. It was just the culling from double lift that crushed down TSM as they were trying to retreat. This is looking so impressive for CLG, and it's not entirely unexpected they would come out in game one like this, just because TSM decided to play CLG's game. Maybe it was required because that's the way TSM is looking at this patch. They feel like the only way they can play is with lane swaps. Odd one, look out.
Yeah, he's in trouble. That's a gold card, gets turned into a munchkin. Wild Growth knocked up, and 1, 2, 3, kill secured by Link. A little unfortunate, I feel.
And most importantly, control of the Baron area. That's where CLG is going to be looking next. It's textbook execution, trying to meet all of their win conditions right here. Control the jungle, get the Baron, and then potentially go in with some ults for the win.
The amount of vision that CLG has on the minimap right now, they've turned this into a Christmas tree of lights. Wards absolutely everywhere. TSM nowhere near this Baron. Uncontested, completely secured. And unfortunately, there was Odd One that had to get dropped. CLG to grab yet another big objective. Decisive control here from Council Logic Gaming in the semifinals.
And they're also getting magic resistance on their tank line, which should theoretically block a lot of the spears from Bjergsen as they're chasing down in the team fight, and would neutralize him and give CLG an even more decisive victory. An 11,000 gold lead right now for CLG. Aphromoo said this will be the defining series to see if they are a top 2 team in North America. It is a best of 3 though, and I honestly think TSM might have to be talking about game 2 right now.
Completely agree with you there. CLG's, I think the decisive initiations really stand out for me. The rotations have been good, but you come to expect that. With the Twisted Fate and the Nocturne, the moment TSM present a target, CLG have pounced.
It's the play calling for CLG and their ability to instantly follow through and then also pull back together. They're doing all of this as a team, and that requires so much trust amongst one another to trust calls going in, especially on a high-pressure stage like this, because that's when everyone defaults on their own tendencies. We've seen Doublelift to be the worst defender of this at times, where on the high-pressure stage, he still wants to be the carry. He'll stick around too long. He'll try and make a fancy play. That's not necessary. CLG owns the map control. They get to pick their fights because of Twisted Fate and Nocturne in this team composition, and they're doing it perfectly 26 minutes into this game.
And the 2 members of the team with those global ultimates are pushing the bottom lane. The rest of CLG grouped up along the top. You have to feel if TSM jumps on CLG, that global pressure, they've jumped onto Darius. This is going to be difficult. Gold card is primed. They stun him up. This is good damage. Darius continues to run away. They couldn't burn through the sadism, but very importantly, top lane tower has been exposed. CLG use their ultimates. They grab another tower.
TSM trying to go in though, 5v3. They know CLG cannot support this.
Odd One jumps in instantly, manages to back away, throws that stealth down. Nani Tonso with the Rangers zone, and he's slowed down members of Team SoloMid. Wild Turtle's been soloed out. He's been dropped. CLG with another kill. They turn onto another inhibitor. CLG playing this one perfectly, getting the top and middle inhibitors. There's a member of TSM down. Crucially, the wave clear member. We'll see how CLG play.
They already took the bottom one right there. CLG forced TSM into a bad situation. They pulled them one way, they pushed them the other, and they got everything.
Council Logic Gaming set their sights on the Nexus turret. They still have not backed off. Baron buff will be wearing off in a minute and a half. They've got the regen. They've got the stats. Council Logic Gaming dropped the first Nexus turret. TSM, they're not even trying to defend this one. It's a clear victory. Council Logic Gaming pick up game 1 in the best of 3 of the North American Spring Playoffs.
Wow. That is a statement game one right there from CLG. 13 kills to 3, beating TSM in 28 minutes. They were focused coming into that one. They just starved TSM out of their lanes, out of experience, and most importantly, out of gold. No one on TSM got their items, so they can never be powerful in team fights. TSM looks stunned right now.
TSM never got a chance to siege. If I think back to the entire game, they were in the mid lane, pushing an inner turret, and instantly got collapsed upon by that Nocturne and Twisted Fate. From the get-go, CLG had a plan, and they